Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Uval, and I am the head of marketing for Beck Technology. Super excited for today's webinar. We have Noelle with us. She is our data analyst at Beck Technology. I'm going to pass this over to Noelle to show us what the comparison data looks like in Power BI. So Noelle, let me make you the presenter, and we'll get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to stop sharing my camera so I can show you guys my screen. And so like Julie said, today we're going to be talking through the version comparison dashboard. I guess for context, we came up with the version comparison dashboard because of feedback that we got from our client based on the comparison view within Estimator. And so we wanted to build out a new tool to kind of supplement that view and further leverage pre-construction data. And so the purpose of the version comparison dashboard is to compare different versions of the same project. So we have several different pages that I'm going to walk through, and I'll show you guys how to use all of the different features in our 2021 version comparison dashboard. So when you go into Power BI web service or in the desktop app, this is the view that you'll see. You can see the list of pages on the side, or you can use the buttons that we've created in the dashboard, and you can select the projects you want to look at. So the first step is to choose an estimate. So for this example, I've chosen Harley Building BI. It's a test estimate that I created for demo purposes, and then you can choose the versions you want to compare against. So you can choose as many versions as you want. Harley Building has two different versions, initial and version 2, and we've selected both of them. And the first page that I want to talk about in the dashboard is our summary page. So at the top here, you can see high-level information about the estimate. So the project name, the project type, what city it's in, and the state that it's in. And then you can select which version you want to use as the base. So the version that's going to be used for the calculations. And so for this page, we've selected initial, and we can see what the variance in dollars and the variance in percentage is across direct cost, indirect cost, and total cost. And if the value goes up from the base version, you can see it highlighted in red. And as you add more versions, the colors will show up in a gradient. So the highest value will be the darkest shade of red so that you get a quick visual look into what your data looks like. We also have a cost breakdown by versions and a pie chart over here. So you can see that version 2 makes up slightly more than half. So it's a little bit larger than the initial version. And the next page that I want to talk through is our fees page. And so this is for comparing different fees. Again, I've chosen initial for the base version. And so you can see that the fee difference or variance is 0 under initial, and it's highlighted in red for version 2. And so you can see what that increase is. And you can select different versions that you want to look at. So if you only wanted to look at equipment supercharge or specific versions or fees, you'd be able to do that in here. And you can see what that fee value difference is graphically as well. So if we selected all again, it's an easier way of seeing what is the highest increase. So you can see sales tax went up by quite a lot more, especially compared to equipment supercharge and overhead. The next page I want to talk through is our project data page. And so this is where we do the different project properties in Estimator. These are only numerical values since we're doing a cost by property and what that variance is in dollars and in percentages. So you can see for this one, I actually chose version 2 as the base version or the version for variance to compare against. And we have a little legend up here. So you can see that initial didn't actually have test property. So we're tracking that now in a new version later on. And we also didn't know what the total building area and the total site area were. So they were left blank. And so we can see what that increase was by over here. The next page that I want to go to, I'm going to skip over the WBS cost ones and skip into line items. And so the line items defaults into the custom WBS breakdown. And this is something that will help you set up during the implementation process of the setup. And so you can choose different WBS groupings that you want to group by. This one's grouping by alternates, alternate name, and then CSI level 1. So we can see the breakdown by alternates or base bid. You can roll things up so you only want to look at certain things, and you can also filter. So let's say I only wanted to look at the base bid line items. You can even break it down into seeing I only want to look at base bid existing conditions. And then similar to the other pages, increases and variance are highlighted in red. And then if it's a decrease in the variance, it'll be highlighted in green, which we can see in other pages later on. And then we also provide variance in dollars and variance in percentage. And if you want to see it right away, it defaults to make these line items into one line. You can move things around so you can see what that looks like. And so we provide the custom WBS grouping, uniformat. And so you can see that actually from initial to version 2, we got rid of exterior foundation wall insulation, and we can see that change more clearly in here. We've got CSI level grouping and master format level grouping, and those variance in dollars and percentage. And the variance in here is based off of the total cost. We also include different fields that you can bring into through the Power BI desktop app. So you can do variance on the unit cost or the quantity. We just left it at total cost, so that way, at first glance, the visuals are very clear, but you can change them out depending on your needs. And then I want to go over to the WBS costs grouping. And so similarly here, you choose which WBS property you want to organize by, and then the base version you want to compare against. And so we can see graphically what that looks like. So it's a little bit clearer, like, oh, B shell went up, C interiors, and so did F special construction and demolition. And we can see also what those increases were here. Just to provide a little bit more insight into the higher level groupings. And you see the variance in dollars and in percentage, and it's based off of the total cost. You can also look at WBS unit cost. So if you wanted to compare against like CSI groupings by project property. So how much was existing conditions based off of staff GC and labor? You can see what that looks like, again, in variance in dollars and in percentage, and then a graphical format over here. So you can see O2 existing conditions went up, O7 thermal and moisture, as well as general requirements, although you can see it makes up less of a proportion of the estimate than the other groupings. And you can also notice that O1 general requirements didn't exist in initial, and so the variance in percentage is blank because otherwise it would be infinity. So you can see that general requirements was something that we added in later on, and the variance cost by staff GC and labor went up by 1 cent. So those are the different pages of our 2021 version comparison dashboard. We'll open it up for questions now. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you, Noelle. So I do want to remind everyone, submit your questions. I do have a couple that have already come in. So Noelle, we do have a comparison view in Estimator. How is this different from that?
Right, yeah, so that's a great question, Julie. And the comparison view in Estimator, I would say the biggest difference is that it lives within Estimator, and with the Power BI dashboard, you can share it out to external clients. So you can, if you want to, share it out and limit the number of people who can see it, but that way people who aren't necessarily using Estimator can still grab comparison data that they need to see.
Very cool. So I know that you clicked on the share button. Does someone need to have a Power BI license in order to see this?
So there's different options, which we provide an explanation on our community page. for this one, people will need a Power BI license, but there's ways to publicly share your dashboard and also limit who can have access to it. It gets a little bit complicated, but again, like if you want more information about that, our community page is available.
So if you're, another good question came in and said, can I hide data that I wouldn't want a client to see?
Yes, yeah, so you can see that this example, it has these filters open. This is pulling from our Power BI desktop app. So let me actually open up Power BI desktop. And so on these filters over here, we don't have any on here right now, but if you wanted to, a very common one is people make a project property and hide a filter on all pages. So let's say we only wanted people to look at, I'll drag in Client City, for example. We only are, oops, this one doesn't have any examples in there. Let's pull in estimate name, right? And we knew for sure, oh, wrong one. Let me pull in this one. Estimate name. Yes, and we knew for sure we don't want anybody to see anything besides the Harley Building BI estimate. We'd be able to filter it out. And then when you go to select projects, they'd only be able to see that Harley Building BI, and you'd be able to hide these filters so that when you publish it, report readers wouldn't be able to see the data that you're filtering out.
Great. I have a flood of questions coming in, Noelle, so I'm going to try to get to as many as we can.
Yeah.
So we do have current customers asking, where can they download the updated PBIX file to use this as a template?
Yeah, so they can, it will be available on our community page along with setup instructions. We're also going to be hosting a webinar in the next couple of weeks to walk through the setup instructions.
Excellent. So for our customers that do have Estimator, whenever we send out this recording, I will also link in that community page post, and then you'll also get an additional invite in the near future for the next presentation to show you how you actually set this up. So the WBS cost tab, can you see a variance at the subtotal level?
On this WBS property costs page?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah, so, so the total cost, these are excluding any indirect costs. This is like what you would see if you rolled up your line items in Estimator, if that's what you meant by subtotal, or if you mean, if you wanted to look at, like if you're trying to break it out by labor, material, or those kind of values, you can do that. We have the data available to do that. If it's something that you're interested in, I'd be more than happy to walk through how to set that up because it will require some extra Power BI calculations.
Cool. So we have a question on, can this be exported to Excel and then shared? So if someone doesn't have access to Power BI, can our customers do that?
Yeah, that's actually a great thing, and it's something that we've heard about in the past. So there's a quick and easy export data button here, and so it'll export it as a CSV, and then you can reformat it any way that you like. I'm going to also post into our community page how to export the data and then use pivot tables in Excel to have it look basically the same as this, but in Excel.
Awesome. Another question I have coming in is the summary tab. Why is the variance 7 million? Should it not be around 500,000?
Yes, I think we recently made edits to our comparison dashboard. So that's a small bug in it. I'm going to be working through that and then republishing the version comparison dashboard before we send out those links.
Awesome. I love people that are on our webinars with a keen eye. That's fantastic catch.
Very much appreciate it.
And then also, is it easy to download from Destiny into this template?
Oh yeah, so like it is, what we'll do is you just need to go into your data source settings, and then it'll be a part of the setup instructions, but you just change the source and connect it to your Destiny database and your SQL server. And then after that, if you want the latest data, you just got to click refresh and it'll update with the latest information.
Awesome. Well, that is the majority of the questions that have come in. If I happen to miss yours, if you wouldn't mind quickly flagging me and tell me, hey, Julie, you didn't answer my question. But like Noelle said, we will have a follow-up event that is strictly just for customers to walk you through how to do the setup, how to get the template so that you can use this in connection with DESTINI Estimator and the cost data that you're currently using. All right, I don't have anything else coming in. And we're going to keep this short and say thanks everyone for attending.